Hi, I'm Ellie,
And I'm Haley.
and this is Two Kids and a Broadway Star.
That the king and the queen of hearts could be a perfect 10.
Our guest today is Jose Llana.
Llana.
Jose leads a big new take on what a Broadway show looks like in Here Lies Love, an immersive show that makes the audience a part of the performance.
But before that, he graced the stage in Rent Flower Drum Song Wonderland, the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, and The King and I. Not once, but twice.
And he's been seen on your screens in Sex and the City and Hitch, and is a recording artist. Plus, as always, a whole lot more, including a run at Paper Mill Playhouse's Bill Sikes and Oliver, a show that you all know is close to our hearts.
We're ready to find out exactly what it's like to be at and in an immersive Broadway show.
Jose Llana, welcome to
Two Kids and a Broadway Star.
Yay! Wow, that was my favorite intro I have ever heard. Thank you very
so
much.
We appreciate
That
it.
was so cool. Very cool.
So we like to start right at the beginning. How'd you get started in theater?
Okay, how did I get started? Well, I think the big joke that Filipinos say is that all Filipinos are born with a karaoke microphone in their hands. So I think I grew up singing with my family, and I was very lucky that my family, we rented a bunch of VHS videotapes of all the old musicals, and that's when I first discovered the Rodgers and Hammerstein, Oklahoma, and Sound of Music. I grew up watching Sound of Music maybe 10 times a week with my sister, and that led me to joining choir in grade school and middle school, and I did a lot of musical theater in high school, and then I went to college for classical voice, and it was in New York my freshman year in college, that I was very lucky to book my first Broadway shows. And that was my first King and I, in '96. And I've had a lot of fun since then.
Wow, that's so cool.
We used to make up shows when we were little and force our parents to watch them.
Absolutely.
They were usually okay.
Yeah, we made up the songs in like a minute, but
Yeah.
you're so lucky to, I mean, and not just luck, obviously a lot of talent, but like
Mhm.
to be able to book a Broadway show like your freshman year of college, like that's
That
incredible.
that was magic. You know what I mean? And sometimes I worry, I try not to tell that story too often, especially to young kids who are thinking about going into the industry. It was the luckiest thing in the world that when I was a freshman in college, they were doing a show like The King and I that was looking for someone who looked exactly like me, with the right vocal type. And they were looking for a young man, basically an old boy, to play this part. And I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned is it takes, but obviously there's three things that you'd need for success. It is a little bit of talent, or hopefully a lot of talent, uh preparation, which is the voice lessons, the acting lessons, the dance classes, but then you also need that third piece of luck, you know. And luck is when you're doing the right show at the right time, you're in the right city at the right time, you're auditioning for the right show at the right time. And those things all lined up for me when I was 17, 18 years old, and I was very lucky. So it started my career, and I'm always grateful. And I also got to meet two of the coolest people in the world, Donna Murphy and Lou Diamond Phillips, who were my King and Mrs. Anna in that show, and they have always been my mentors and older brother and sister in this industry.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Did you always want to be on Broadway, or did you just want to sing?
That's actually a really good question. I love theater kid questions because you know exactly what to ask. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the longest time, I only thought of myself as a singer. That sometimes that I was a singer who did plays. Because singing is where my first love was. I was a choir kid. But then I got into more shows in high school, and then when I started working, and then you realize that sometimes the best kinds of singing are when you're telling a story and you're creating a character. And so I've learned to be a better actor that way, and I think my singing has gotten better because I've learned to act through my singing. And so I don't separate the two as much anymore. It's kind of the two are together as one thing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So have your
Hmm.
goals changed as you've gotten older and done more work?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, when you're young, a lot of what motivates you is, you want to be famous, or you want to be in a Broadway show, and you want to, and I think the longer you work and the older you get, the more important it is to understand that happiness isn't, you should never equate your happiness with your current job and with the show you're doing. Because I remember being in school and auditioning for a show, and when I didn't get it, it kind of ruined my school year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's now amplify that to being a working actor, where if you get a job, it's great. If you don't get a job, that's okay too. That's really okay. And I think the older I get, I have a better understanding of the most important things to me is that I'm happy and that I'm healthy, that my family is healthy. Those things are much more important than the next job, And I think that just comes with time, and that just comes with um, surrounding yourself with supportive people like your parents, and who remind you that just if you don't get the job, that's okay. If you don't get the part, that's okay. There's going to be another one coming right after that.
Yeah, you have to do it for the right reasons. You can't just
Absolutely.
you have to do it for the love of it, not because you want to be famous
Or just because you want a huge role.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So now you're in Here Lies Love, which is the story of Imelda and Ferdinand Marcos. To give our listeners a little background, you play Ferdinand, and you lived in Manila when the Marcoses were in power before your family moved to the U.S. Can you tell us more about your role and what it's like playing this story as a Filipino American with an all Filipino cast?
Whew. You're right. It's going to be a very long. It's good. That's a deep question.
Yeah.
It's very important to me. It's a very personal show for me. Um, I was born in the Philippines. I'm very proudly Filipino, and martial law was a bad thing. Martial law in general is a bad thing, and martial law is what takes the rights away of people, and it basically strips the country of their rights. And so my family, my mom and dad, took my sister and me, and we moved to America because of martial law. And it was a really dark time in Filipino history. So for me to play this part is really, it's interesting. When I called my parents and said, "Hey, I'm going to be doing a new show," and they're like, "Great," and I'm like, "Oh, and it's a Filipino story," and they're like, "That's wonderful." And I said, "I get to play the dictator who we left the country for," and they're like, "What?" And so they were apprehensive at first, but then when we realized that it was important to tell the story, to tell the good, the bad, and everything in between, so that people can remember history and learn from it. Someone has to play the bad guy, and I play the bad guy in my show. I play one of the two bad people in the show. And I think, every story has a villain, right? And I've played a couple of villains in my career, and that's okay. Sometimes I play nice good guys. But you realize what's more important is that you're telling the story. And what's very important to me is that there are a lot of people who don't know a lot about Filipino history, because why would you? Especially if you grew up in America. It's not really taught in American schools. And I think people will come to our show, hopefully have a good time and dance, but then also go home with a little bit of a history lesson, and to understand that democracy, that is something that we have to protect. And if we don't vote the right people into office, then we have to vote them out.
we read that it's a history lesson in a disco, and it makes us think about like Hamilton was a history lesson in hip hop, and
Yeah.
lots of kids know about Hamilton now, and nobody really cared before he was the guy on the front.
That's exactly true. That's exactly true.
Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote it to like ways to raise awareness about the stuff that he did and the good and the bad, because
Right.
like your story, like you have to play the villain. You don't have to like
Mm-hmm.
leave out all the bad stuff, because then people aren't actually going to learn anything, because
That's exactly right.
yeah.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And so in school, we don't really learn too much about Fernando and Imelda Marcos in school and in
Mm-hmm.
the US for whatever reason. So what do you hope kids who like listen and go to the show to learn from it?
Well, I hope, and what's great is that we see a lot of kids, and I love it when parents bring kids to shows that are about politics, because eventually those kids are going to have to learn about what politics are, and that's why you have school elections for president and vice president. I want them to go home and talk about it. I don't think any kid is too young an age to talk about what voting is, and what elections are, And if they want to go into, maybe you want to be a president of your class or vice president or treasurer or something. And I think that's what I hope, that if kids come to see Here Lies Up, first of all, they have a good time and they do a couple of line dances with us. But beyond knowing a little bit about Filipino history, I just hope that they go home and talk to their parents about, what did we just watch, and what's martial law? Can martial law happen in America? And so I think those are the kinds of conversations I hope kids have. The way that I hope kids see any show, and if there's any subject matter in a show that they don't know about, to go home and use it as a way to learn more about what that is.
Oh, Imelda, light in my world, my queen of hearts for all of these years. Come back to me, don't leave me alone, for there is darkness when you are not here.
So Here Lies Love is an immersive show. We looked that up, but can you tell us what it means?
Well, immersive means where basically we took the seats away for half the theater. There's still seats for most people who want to come see the show. There's still seats. You can still sit down. But for about 300 people, you're going to be standing in a dance floor, and the actors are going to be performing all around you. I come down to the dance floor, and I'm got a video camera, and I'm shaking people's hands, and you become part of the action. You become characters in the play. You are the voters at the pep rally. You are the attendees at a funeral. You are the people who vote the Marcoses in for the election. So it's immersive in that you are in it, and we get you to do some line dances, and you are on your feet with us the entire time.
That's such an interesting concept, because
Yeah.
the whole thing about the show is it's about the people, and who were involved in this, and if you really put yourself in their shoes, then you can really help imagine the history and everything that already happened. So I
That's
think
exactly
that's
right.
the best way to do it, and especially in
Thanks.
have fun little concert
Dancey
thing,
way.
dancey dance. So
people can get their dancing shoes on the dance floor.
Yeah,
you were gonna,
can.
yeah.
So what's that like, as a performer? Does it change your performance to make it feel more like a concert than an actual
Yeah. It's I did a show a while ago called the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. And I was the original Chip Tolentino. And in that show, I sang my big song in the audience while I was throwing candy at people. And that was very audience interactions. And I think that was my training to do this job as well. I always seem to do Broadway shows where I'm in the audience and interacting with people. But it changes. What's great about it is that it changes every night. I have no idea who's going to be in the audience every night. And sometimes they're great. Sometimes they're a little weird. Sometimes someone doesn't want to shake my hand, and it hurts my feelings. But it makes it interesting, and which is why live theater is so cool. You never know what you're going to get, and sometimes it's extraordinary, and sometimes I have to coerce the people to shake my hand. But I think it's a lot of fun, and I think that's what makes it so exciting for the audience when they come.
Yeah, I mean, being put on the spot like that's kind of fun for some people. And hey, they paid for that
Yeah.
standing room, so they should know better. They chose it.
Yeah,
Right.
don't worry, we would
And-
shake your hands.
Yeah, we would.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So do people seem to know what they're expected to do? I'm asking because me and my mom saw and Juliet, and there are songs where people are encouraged to get up and dance. They literally hold signs on stage, and almost nobody did. It was me, my mom, and then a few people in the mezzanine standing. Do
Right.
people walk in ready to be a part of Here Lies Love?
I think so. I think so, especially since like I said, 300 people out of the 1,000 people in the building that don't have seats. They're always standing the entire time. So whether they're going to move around or not is not a huge shift from that. But then the other 800 people, 700 people who have seats, there comes points in the show where we say, come on and stand up and dance with us. And there are some people who have absolutely no interest in standing up, and that's okay. Listen, you bought the ticket. It's your money. You can enjoy your night or afternoon as the way you want to. But I do hope people come with an open mind to try to have fun. and try to join along with the dancing, because it's part of the storytelling. It's part of the storytelling.
Yeah. Do you have any tricks that like just to kind of push people to stand up and like dance along?
There's this one part of the show where I'm when I'm dancing in front of a group of people. And if there's one person who won't stand up and everyone else around them is standing up, I'll literally sit there and I'll stop dancing very quickly and I'll just go like this and I'll stare at them like this, and like with a smile, like, and it's meant to make them smile and feel a little uncomfortable, but then they eventually get up and like, okay, because everyone around them's like, come on, get up, don't be so but right, but again, like I said, I think if people want to dance, they will. If they don't, they're fine to relax. And also, some people can't. Like, some people are, maybe their knees are bad. I don't want to force someone to dance if they don't want to dance. So that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they get mad when they find out that you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
maybe they just don't want to dance with me. That's fine. That's okay.
So we ask each of our guests to choose a charity and our parents make a donation as a thank you for being on our show. So
Okay.
you picked Broadway Cares / Equity Fights AIDS and the ACLU. Can you tell us about them?
Please, yes, I would love to. So Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS is an organization very close to my heart. It is founded here in New York City with the theater community. And initially, their primary goal was to raise money for people affected with HIV or AIDS. And they still are primarily that. And every Broadway show and touring company has fundraising events all year to help raise money for them. And they are an extraordinary organization with the nicest and kindest people on the planet. And their goal is to really take care of people who need help, whether it's people who are sick or people who are homeless, people who need disaster relief, for example, for COVID. They're just a helping hand, and they are really one of the most progressively open to help anybody who needs help organizations. And I've been a huge supporter of them since I started working 30 years ago. And the second organization is the American Civil Liberties Union, which ties in directly with my show in that it's an organization that basically, in its name, it protects civil liberties. It protects voting rights. It protects civil rights all over the world and all over the country. And those are things that are very important. They help people learn how to vote, and they protect people's right to vote. And they protect people's civil rights all over the country. So I think very few things are more important than that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we also ask all our guests what advice they have for kids like us or teenager and almost teenager like us who want to be on Broadway someday.
Wow. You guys are so ahead of the game. You are so poised and mature. I wish I were like you two when I was your age. But the only advice I would have would be to just keep going. And what you guys have that I didn't have at your age was this beautiful thing called the internet, and your ability to expose yourself to different kinds of art. I wish I had the internet when I was your age. I would watch ballet. I would watch operas online. I would watch different kinds of musical theater. I would watch different kinds of dance. Because you never know where inspiration is going to come from, especially if you're an artist. I wasn't exposed to ballet until I was an adult, and I love it. Maybe had I been exposed to ballet when I was young, I might have become a ballet dancer. Who knows? So expose yourself to different kinds of art. Take as many lessons as your parents can afford. And even if you can't afford it, watch it on YouTube as much as you can, and only do it as long as you love it.
Yeah, because people forget that, the internet's more than like, just like scrolling mindlessly. Like there's so many resources out there,
So many, especially for an artist looking to find other pieces of art. It's a beautiful thing.
People always tell us that the right roles will find us. So do you feel like the role of Ferdinand found you?
I think so. Again, I say that, he was a bad guy. I hope it doesn't mean I'm a bad guy. But no, I think things happen for a reason. And me playing this part has been very special for my family, because it's brought my family together in a way that, we're able to talk about our history and talk about our family and talk about the family members that we left behind in the Philippines and how they had to live through martial law after we left. And so in terms of finding roles for yourself, I feel like we talked about in the beginning of this interview, that the fact that I was lucky enough that this part came about when I'm the right age to play him. You know, I'm a little older now. I'm one of the older people in my company. I'm appropriately the president because I'm the older person in this company. And I think it's the right time, and it's the right time in my career to do it. And I understand the history that we're telling in a way that maybe I couldn't have played this part when I was in my 20s.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be at the right place at the right time, at the right age. You gotta,
Exactly.
it's all worlds colliding and everything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, lastly, we have our lightning round. So, we're basically just gonna ask you short, fun questions.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but it has to be lightning. Yes.
Okay. Oh my God, I'm nervous. I'm so nervous. Okay.
Put you on the spot, like you do with your audience. Revenge. Okay.
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 So.
Okay.
What is your favorite Talking Head song?
Once in a Lifetime.
Which Broadway theater is your favorite?
The Neil Simon is where I had my first Broadway show.
Do you have a nickname?
Yes, and it's E-Boy, I-B-O-Y, and it's my Filipino nickname, and only people in my family call me by that name, and it's the test that you know if they know my family, if they ask for E-Boy. If they ask for Jose, they don't know my family. If they ask for E-Boy, they know my family.
Awesome. Okay. Where's the best Filipino food in New York?
The best Filipino food in New York used to be a restaurant called Jeepney, but it's not open anymore. But they're all the best Filipino places. There's a place called Pig and Cow in the East Village, and there's another place called Piggyback that serves a great Filipino food. But I think the best Filipino food is in Queens, which I don't go out to Queens that often, but I heard there's a huge Filipino town in Queens.
What show are you going to see next?
What am I seeing next? Yaya's hair braiding. I believe that's what I'm seeing next. And I'm waiting to hear back on my tickets to go see Pearly Victorious.
Nice. French fries or potato chips?
French fries. Yes. Always French fries.
What's the last movie you saw in a theater?
Oh my goodness, the last movie I saw in the theater. Oh my goodness. What was the last movie? Was it Oppenheimer.
What Broadway performer has influenced you the most?
Wow. Audra McDonald, Danny Burstein, Brian Darcy James, Patti LuPone.
Yeah.
Pizza or bagels or pizza bagels?
Wow. Pizza bagels is a big part of my childhood, but I will say pizza because I have grown less fond of bagels in my older years. So pizza all the way.
Where are you going to be for Halloween?
You know, God, this is going to be such a downer response. I'm not a big Halloween person because I wear costumes for a living. I'm really not. But who am I going to be for? I don't know. No. Yeah. That's gonna be the downer answer. I don't really do. I think my husband and I are gonna probably watch TV and stay in all night, hopefully. So Fun. And pass out candy. Nice. Yeah. Oh, hold on. I take that back. You know what? I'll take one response. Okay, because I have a niece and nephew who do a lot of things. Who do a lot of Halloween. Star Trek, Next Generation. I dressed up as Captain Picard, Jean-Luc Picard. Okay. All right. There you go.
If you could play any of Leia Salonga's roles, what would you pick?
Lea Salonga's roles, oh my goodness. I mean, the OG, Kim and Miss Saigon, like that's what brought her to the world global stage, you know, and then, it's kind of high for me to sing. So, but, I think if you brought the keys down, I'll try to sing some of her parts there.
Yeah. Okay, most important question.
Okay.
What Taylor Swift era are you in?
It's so funny, but I don't. Okay, what's the album with You Belong to Me, You Belong with Me?
Fearless.
Just good, I'm with seekers. He's still captain, and I'm on the bleachers.
Yeah, that's Fearless.
Yeah, that's
okay.
on Fearless.
Taylor's version.
Yes, but also there's 1989 was also a good album, right? 1989.
Yeah,
was a good album.
definitely.
Taylor's
I like
version is
that.
coming out in under
Yeah.
a month. Just
And time.
I'm literally sweating. I'm sweating from the lightning round. That made me nervous. Okay.
thank you so
So
much
much.
for being on
Two Kids and a Broadway Star.
Woo!
Broadway Star.
I love the echo. Broadway Star. My favorite. Amazing. Well, it was my pleasure.
At Two Kids and a Broadway Star, it's really important to us that we support Broadway and the whole theater community.
That's why we ask all of our guests to choose a charity, and our parents make a donation as a thank you for being on our show.
This episode supports the Broadway Cares / Equity Fights AIDS and the ACLU. We hope you'll consider making a donation of any size. You can find a link to donate in our show notes. Any amount counts.
Two Kids and a Broadway Star is me, Ellie.
And me, Haley.
We started this podcast as a way to stay connected to the theater community during the shutdown and beyond.
You can follow us on Instagram at 2KidsPod, and you can listen to all of our episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and at 2kidsbroadway.com. Please like and subscribe.
Thanks for listening.